remembering names in a dementia unit is an exceptional feat, but it can be done. But generally it's best when you go in and greet your mother to say your name and, greet her warmly and not expect her to remember it. But there's ways of being able to facilitate that remembrance by having your picture in the big picture, realistic picture of you in the bedroom with your name, TOM, underneath it, so she can read it. That's the thing. That's the way that they're able to reinforce that cognition of your name through reading. Then she can read it in her bedroom and get orientated with it. And throughout the visit as well, if you can say, refer to your name, Tom, and if you have a photograph scrapbook with all the kids in it and with you as well, you can put your name, Tom, and the other kids' names underneath their photos. And in that way, your mother can read it as she's conversing with you. Read and at the same time reinforce and remember it with you being there. She can speak it out, and that reinforces those neural pathways for her. So in terms of learning names and the exceptional feats of two residents in particular, I'll refer to here, just to really show that it can be done. I mean, the more important thing really though in a dementia unit, more important than remembering names even, is for the person to be able to find their room. I mean, that's really the big effort that needs to be made, direction orientation. So the person can find their room, to be able to go to the bathroom, lie down and rest, etc. But once that's done, and if the dementia resident, if your mother say, is keen to learn the names of the children again because she's forgotten them, that's a good activity. It's a very good exercise. You can get the photograph album out, get nice big pictures or blow them up if they're too small, big letters, write out the names, of each of the kids and talk about them, talk about the happy memories, the summer holidays, and each little photo, go into the depth of detail, of what you were doing as a child, what your brothers and sisters were doing. And as your mother is discussing it, recalling the summer holidays, the children, the names are written there, she can read, oh, Sue, yes, Sue, I remember when she was just 3 years old, building sandcastles at Sumner. It's a very good photo, bringing back. Yes, Sue, she loved sandcastles. She was always at the sea. I mean, we all love the sea, but Sue especially. She was a real water baby. Yes, she was. And she loved swimming. Yes, she did love swimming, Mum. And she did very well at the school championships as well. I think she was the winner in Form 3. Yes, she loved swimming. It's a very good thing, swimming. And so, that's Sue and her swimming, big lettered Sue, and all the photos of her swimming awards and her standing there proudly getting the awards, chatting away. Such a good activity. I mean, you're not just occupying time, but enjoying time. You're spending time with your mother. She's getting to, recognise the names and hopefully implement the names if she's forgotten them. It's just like a pleasant exercise to do in a relaxed way, isn't it? A fun way even. That's the best way. I mean, you don't want to, the worst way is interrogating mum really and coming in and, as some relatives sometimes do, and coming in and saying, Mum, what's my name? Do you remember? I mean, no. Freeze on the spot generally, confidence gone, can't remember a thing. Whereas if mum is relaxed and comfortable and she's been reading the names and talking about the children and got the names there to remind her and recognise and review and categorise and think and on, had all that practice with you, chances are when Sue comes in, she may well recognise her, and that's a lovely thing, and remember her name maybe. So that's a nice way of doing it. Also though, it is actually possible for residents to learn names by themselves, if you can believe it. Oh, this one occasion I witnessed it. Theodora, the school teacher who was exceptional, I've mentioned her before, in reading and, cryptic crosswords and listening to the news and anything to do with, thinking and reading, she was big time on. She always reading. And she took up this hobby of seeing if she could learn all the names of the core group, eight residents usually, 8 new residents in the team, to see if she could remember their names, which is a massive feat. I mean, dementia is all about memory loss, isn't it? Present memory loss being the worst, past memory loss well faded as well. Often there's a little muscle of present memory there. Well, Theodora seemed to have it, and she worked on that muscle memory flat out, and probably all day sometimes. She'd go around the group, what's your name, what's your name, what's your name? She'd say the name out loud to the 8 people, then again repeat, every sometimes every 10 minutes, another repeat round, next 10 minutes, another repeat round. And sometimes some of the residents used to get brassed off and say, oh, she's always asking me my name. And I used to say, well, that's good. At least she's making an effort. And if you wanted to make an effort, you can ask her name and remember hers as well. So anyway, with her making all this effort, everyone else thought, well, maybe at least I should remember my best friend's name. And some of them did achieve that. They'd remember the best friend that they sat with all day. 2 or 3 remembered that, but no one remembered the 8. She was the only one that she did actually achieve that. And actually, what else she did, which was probably more remarkable, there was another woman, Juliet. She was the netballer. She had 3 sons, and she'd forgotten the names of her. She'd forgotten the name of 2 of her sons. She remembered the main son that visited her regularly, often the case. And so, she didn't need to be reminded of him, but the other 2 sons she'd forgotten. They were overseas, so she didn't see them much. Anyway, so Theodora asked the charge nurse if she could have a slip of paper of the 3 names, the 2 sons that she couldn't remember, and say Jack and Bill. So Jack was written and Bill was written on the piece of paper. And then Theodora would just sit with Juliet, Jack, Jack, Jack. And you go over that 100 times. Then the other son again. And then Juliet would carry around the piece of paper, memorizing it. Anyway, the day came. The long lost son arrived, and, Juliet had been practicing as much as she could. And, no one was, the staff was sort of wondering whether she would remember his name or not. They weren't quite sure whether she'd get it, But anyway, the day arrived and he came and she did remember his name, remarkably. And he was amazed. I mean, she was in a dementia unit, obviously, but there she was remembering his name. So it can be done, but she put in an enormous amount of effort into that, and she enjoyed it. She wanted to learn, and Theodora, the teacher, the dementia resident, was happy to teach her. It was the only time it was done, but it was a big achievement for Juliet as well, and she was very proud of that. So, I think, if there's an interest in it, and if someone's prepared to sit with the relative, mum, grandma, etc., and go through the names, even on the iPad, looking at the photos and putting big names, a big name under the person, and then a photo, especially if you want them to say the name in present time, the photo needs to be of that person in present time, not 20 years before. They need to look realistically as they are now for the dementia resident to be able to recognise them. So these are all the little techniques of being able to remember names, but not to take offence if your mother forgets your name. If you're visiting regularly, she will know you, and she will, feel your presence and know your tone for sure. I know it can be upsetting when they forget your name, but they don't forget the feeling and the presence of you as their loving son or loving daughter. So that's it for today. The resident's voice and the resident's rise in the link below the description, both from a dementia unit. And thank you for your likes and your support. I really appreciate it.